Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, thank you. This is going to be interactive, but not originally. Before we get involved in questions and things like that, I want to lay out a basic kind of presentation for you on customer service so that we're all starting from the same place and have some basic ideas that we can work from. We are going to have a lot of time for questions. I am Greg Hain with Roof Management. And one of the reasons I realize I'm here is because I believe that there are smarter, better ways for us to work. And more importantly, I think everybody sitting in this room today thinks that too. We've all had these days where we get up in the morning and go, man, there's got to be a better way. Well, there is, and there are. And I realized just last year that whether I'm in my role as roof consultant, whether I'm in my role as trainer of roofing contractor service departments, or in my role as a coach where I do formal coaching of construction executives, that what undergirds all of this is a desire that I have to help contractors find these better, smarter ways to work and implement them in their organizations. You will see examples and evidence of that in this presentation today. And if you share my passion for finding these smarter, better ways, you're welcome to talk to me after the presentation. And probably the best place to do that is right there on the trade show floor. So let's get started. This is a standalone presentation, but there is kind of a part two that some of you might be interested in. Tomorrow there's going to be another presentation that I'm going to be doing down the way here entitled How to Professionally Document Your Repairs. And to the degree that the professional documentation of invoices for repairs has a role in customer service, and it does, and it's huge, all we're going to do is acknowledge that today because we're going to beat that to death tomorrow. And that's a complete, you don't have to come here to be able to benefit from that, but to the degree that we're gonna skimp on that part of this today because because it's so important. We've devoted a whole training session to it tomorrow. So just what is customer service? I went online and I got a definition off Wikipedia that says that the service is provided to customers before, during, and after the sale. Well, I didn't like that. First of all, as far as I'm concerned, anything happening before a sale is sales, not customer service. And when I think about customer service in our industry, the majority of the customer service challenges that I see developing occur when there's an interactive process that's going on a regular basis between customer and roofer. And so a lot of what we're going to be talking about today is kind of the combination of before, not before, but the during and after part, the ongoing relationship part. Some of you are here because you have repeating customer service problems you want help with. Good. Some of you are here simply because you want to give your customers better service in a more proactive way. Good. We're going to address both of these. Some of you may be commercial contractors. Let me see. How many of you are commercial contractors? Ooh, okay. And to the degree that we have commercial contractors here, you may have customers that own many properties where you have ongoing opportunities to do customer service with them. Some of you may be residential. Are there any pure residential contractors here? Okay. So many of you, compared to commercial, may have comparatively fewer opportunities for repeat business. We're going to address both. And we're going to address these by presenting to you today some sound, effective principles that you can begin to take back and apply in your organization. Because if you understand the principles involved, you can develop the methods. Random applications of methods doesn't cut it. You need to understand the principles. And so our emphasis today in the presentation is going to be to lay out some principles that you can apply. Then when we get to the question and answer part, we'll deal with your specific issues. I just said that. The typical residential consumer or single building commercial business owner is not knowledgeable about roofs, are they? On the other hand, a typical multi-building commercial business owner, or perhaps someone that has condos and apartments, a lot of steep slope, multiple steep slope situations, are likely to be more knowledgeable about roofing. The typical professional property manager is likely to be even more knowledgeable about roofs, and they're fairly likely to be knowledgeable about the management of those roofs. Your customer service problems and proactive opportunities are going to be different with each of these, aren't they? If you're dealing with somebody that knows what they're doing, they know what they're doing, and if you deal with somebody that is not knowledgeable, that's a whole different problem. But the reality is, if you can meet the needs of knowledgeable property managers, people that actually know what they're doing from a management standpoint, you are going to be well equipped to deal with everybody else. And so we're going to emphasize how to take care of knowledgeable owners and managers. Survey, I want to see a show of hands this morning. How many of you think you're already good at customer service? Oh good, I'm not seeing any hands. That's the right answer, by the way. How many of you think you need to be a lot better? Very good, okay. Let's talk about customer service expectations. Yours. What are the expectations that you have for the people that serve you, and what are your expectations for how you should serve your customers? Let's talk about that. It's Monday morning after the IRE. We're going to all be here till Friday sometime. You all are going to get back in the office, and on a Monday morning, you walk in on Monday morning, and there's this job that you're going to drive by on the way to work, and you haven't seen it, you decide to stop, so you get in the office at 9 o'clock. The first thing you do, take your messages. You got a message on there from your favorite general contractor. Now, when I say your favorite general contractor, I actually mean your favorite general contractor, somebody that actually knows what he's doing. You actually like working for him. He says, hey, I have this job coming out for me. He goes on to describe it, and what I will tell you is that what he's describing for you is your perfect job. It's something that you love doing, you get good margins at, you're great at and competitive at, you've got a good chance of doing it before you've even looked at the prints, and you're busy, but you're not that busy, you want to bid this job. I have a question. Anybody, when are you going to call him back? Anybody? Right away, of course. Okay. So you pick up the phone, you get on the phone to him, you say, and he goes on to describe, he said, we kind of a short time frame for this. You say, no problem, and a little more conversation about it. He knows you were at the IRE, and he says, how was it? You talk about it a little bit, and then he says, oh, by the way, he said, when's the metal coming in for that job we got down the street together? Now, you don't know, because you're not managing the project, but you're sitting there in your office, you look right down the hall, you see the project manager right down there, he's on the phone, so I don't know he does, but as soon as he gets off the phone, one of us will get back to you. He asks you a couple more questions, you hang up, and you look, he's gone. Whoop, there goes his truck, and you see the phone stuck to his ear as he goes by. Does this happen? Okay, I have a question. It's now 9:05. By when do you think you ought to be able to get back to this general contractor? How many of you think you ought to be able to get back to him by noon? Don't be shy. Okay, here's what I want you to know. I think you're nuts, because here's what's going to happen. What's going to happen is, what you don't know is, last night when he put his phone on the charger, it didn't sync up. He walked out of the house that morning with 35% on his phone. He's been on the phone all morning, and by the time he's 3 blocks away from you, his phone dies. No problem. He reaches down to get the charger. Oh no, he shut the door. The charger's no good. He's now got a dead phone. I don't care whether you send him an email or you call him. He doesn't know that. Does this happen? Come on. Does stuff like this happen all the time? Okay, sure it does. All right, so how many of you think that you ought to be able to get back to you by 4 o'clock? Come on. Do you think that maybe by 4 o'clock you should have been figuring out how to get the messages? Nobody here thinks that? Okay, that's better. I think you're crazy, ma'am. Because you see, it's now 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He's getting ready to go back to the office, all right? And he's sitting there and he goes, you know what? My phone's dead. I'm sure people have been trying to get a hold of me. And it's closer for me to go home than it is for me to go to the office. So I'll go home, I get the phone on the charger, and get my email taken care of, and that should be faster. So he heads home. He walks into the house about 3:30, and his wife walks right up to him and she says, where have you been? I've been trying to get a hold of you. Grandma Fallon's in the hospital, and I got to go back there, and Johnny's got to get to the baseball game, and Susie's got this to go on. Are you going to go to the hospital or do you want me to? He said, I'll go to the hospital. He puts the phone on the charger, and he goes, he's not going to get this message till 7 o'clock at night. Does this happen? Of course it does. So if we're going to talk about setting expectations, please understand something. We want to set expectations which, for want of a better way of saying it, come hell or high water, we're going to make. Do you all agree with me that you ought to be able to figure out a way to get back to that guy by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning? Yes? Yes. Would you all agree with me, if you can't get back to that guy by 9 o'clock, within 24 hours of the time he asks you for something that you have, that's a problem? Okay, fine. And I agree with you, by the way. All right, so now let's flip it over. None of that disaster's happened yet. It's now 9:06. You pick up the phone and you call your supplier, and you get his voicemail saying, hey, I got this job, short time frame, blah, 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 call me back. When do you want to hear back from him? Anybody? Right away, of course. Right. But what you don't know is that at 8:59, they shut the door on the airplane, and he was on, and they're flying to the other side of the country for a special meeting. And by the time he gets to Denver to change planes, okay, there is a snowstorm in Denver, they're delayed, he gets down just in time to run like crazy to get on his gate. He is not going to get that message till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I have another question, does this happen? Of course it does. Right. So would you agree with me that you ought to be able, that guy ought to be able to get your message and find a way to get back to you by 9:06 the next day? Would you all agree with me that if he can't, that's a problem? Okay, let's go another step. Let's pretend that you don't call that general contractor back till, Thursday. How many here think that that's going to be okay with that general contractor? I'm not seeing any hands. Let me ask you another question. If the supplier that you just called doesn't get back to you till Thursday, is that going to be a problem? Yeah, of course it is. Right. So would you agree with me that if every time you called that supplier on the phone, it took him 4 days to get back to you, that would damage his relationship with you? Absolutely. I heard absolutely. Of course it would. All right. And would you also agree with me that if it takes you 4 days to get back to that wonderful general contractor every time he calls you on the phone, that's going to damage your relationship with him? Of course it is. Does anybody have a problem with this idea? Okay, I'm just checking. So, we've got an expectation that if somebody is calling you for information that you have, we know when the metal is going to be, the guy knows, somebody in the company has the information, that you ought to be able to get it back to him within 24 hours. You expect to do that for the people that you serve, and you expect the people to serve you to do that for you. I think that's fair. Okay. Are we all okay with this? Do we have a consensus? Oh, good. Okay. Sorry. We'll switch gears a little bit. I want to ask you, who do you want to work for? I want to see a show of hands. How many of you get just so excited when you see a bidders list that you're going to be on, and on there is Chuck and a truck? Or how about Bubba and his brother? Is there anybody here that likes to compete against Chuck and a truck? Or Bubba and his brother? I'm not seeing any hands. Okay. So, would it be fair to say that what you would, I'm guessing now, but would it be fair to say that what you really like to compete against are other quality-oriented roofing contractors, contractors that when we talk about doing safety, actually do safety? Okay, things like that. Is that who you want to competing against? Okay, fine. I think that's good, by the way. So understand, if you want to work for an owner, and you don't want to be competing against Chuck in a truck, what does that mean? Doesn't that mean that you need to compete against building owners that recognize that you and Chuck in a truck are not the same thing? And that there's a difference there that's important? Is that fair? Okay. So there is a name that I have coined for these types of owners. People that know the difference between you and Chuck in a truck, and what I call them is knowledgeable building owners. Now, I have this thing I've discovered about knowledgeable building owners. Now, this would not apply to any of you guys, but to the roofing industry at large. I have discovered that there's this thing that roofers don't seem to understand about knowledgeable building owners. And it's this. This is the big secret. They're knowledgeable. They have expectations too. And you know what their expectations are? They're exactly the same as yours. If you got a piece of information and they want it, they expect you to get back with them in 24 hours. Not 4 days later. or not at all. I've got a little story for you. I am privileged to work for some great companies as a roof consultant. And I was having a conversation one day, and this has been at least 5 years ago, with one of the 3 to 5 best property managers I have ever worked with. He continually makes me better as a roof consultant. Now, it's not always fun, but it always makes me better. And at the time we were having this conversation, he was located in a Midwestern state, and most of the properties he managed were in 2 southern markets, metro areas. And so we're having lunch one day in his home office, and I'm saying to him, I say, you know, you have to manage everything remotely. You got to get if there's snow, you got to get it plowed, you got to get the garbage picked up, you got to get the grass mowed, you got to get the light bulbs turned, changing the parking lot, you got to monitor security, you got to get the roof leaks fixed, and on and on and on. You got to do all this remotely. How do the roofers stack up? And he sat there for a minute. He is a thoughtful man. He said, the roofers are the worst. Now, the thing that was interesting to me is that the roofing contractors we had for him down in these 2 southern areas were what I consider to be 2 of the finest service contractors any place in the country. And what he is saying is that the guy that walks around the parking lot with a stick on a nail of it picking up garbage is better at customer service than we are. Now that should be kind of sobering. Now there's a legitimate reason for this in our defense, and that is this. When the tenant at the shopping center shows up, they know whether the light bulb got changed, they know whether the snow has been plowed, they know whether the garbage has been picked up. They don't know whether the roofer was there yesterday fixing their leak because they weren't there. So we do have some legitimate challenges that make providing people with customer service more difficult. They call opportunities. Does this surprise you? Good. Survey time round 2. So the way this talk came about is normally what I do is I present ideas to the IRE about what I'd like to present, and I literally bring pieces of my training program in and share it with people. That's what will be happening tomorrow. They called me and they said, we'd like for you to do a customer service workshop. I said, okay, fine. So we started talking about this, and I got to thinking about it, and I said, you know, you guys have all brought, hopefully, customer service challenges in here you'd like to talk about today. But I said, you know, really? I think what they ought to hear is what their customers think their customer service challenges are. Because reality, what your customers think your problems are is probably a lot more important to your customers than what you think they are. So what I did is I reached out to all of my knowledgeable asset managers and property managers, and I sent them an email, said, please tell me, at least one, your biggest gripe with your roofing contractors. Now, I got a list here for you of some of the things. And what I want you to notice is nobody said, well, they don't find the leak the first time. Or, oh, it costs too much. Didn't get any of that, because these people are knowledgeable. Here they are. Response number 1. The contractor does not appear to treat it's leaking again repair request any differently than the initial request. Either does not treat it differently or does not communicate to us what will be different. 2, roofers unable to tell us when we will actually be able to service the leak request. Really? We call or email multiple times requesting when we can expect his crew to appear and receive no response in return. 3, poor documentation. Documentation either has poor photos, no map, aerial, or drawing showing repairs were made on the roof, or documentation does not appear promptly enough, or all of the above. 4, roofer does not handle tenant communication properly. Roof techs either do not talk to tenants at all, or they do talk to the tenants and say the wrong thing. Now, I've got, I think, 5 of these, but I want to stop here for a second. Because when these people said, I got essays from some people. These are the actual responses I'm getting. And so we categorized them, and I took these and put them together. Now, I thought this was interesting because, for instance, one person says, they do not tell the tenants that they are or have been there. Here's another one. Never talk to the tenants about the work, refer them to the landlord's contact. Well, what's interesting to me is we have one guy saying, they need to talk to the tenant. We've got another guy saying, this guy says, don't talk to the, this guy says, do talk to the tenant. And here's the thing that's so interesting to me. I know all these people, and those guys sit in offices side by side. So what are you going to do? How do you figure that out? Well, we'll show you. But understand, these responses are me going through and kind of figuring out what the essence of their comments are and summarizing. 5. Contractor ignores or otherwise does not report to us other potential roof issues he sees while making leak repairs. Really? Okay. So you have some work to do. Get excited about this. Our industry is crappy at customer service, and you guys should be celebrating that. There are going to be 9,000 roofers here. We have less than 90 in this room. That's less than 1%. You are, by virtue of the fact you're sitting in a room, you are already starting to distinguish yourself from all of your competitors because you at least recognize this is important. I don't know how many contractors here tell me, oh man, I'm trying to find ways to distinguish myself and differentiate myself in the marketplace. Well, guys, this is it. Because we're not talking about taking you on a scale of from 1 to 10, from 9.6 to a 9.8. We're talking about taking an industry that's at a 4 or a 5 or a 3 and getting it better. You have so much room for improvement here. It's going to make it easy for you to shine against your competition. So let's develop some general customer service guidelines based upon principles. And the first principle is the best way to avoid customer service problems is to keep them from happening in the first place. So we just went through a list of what knowledgeable property managers say they want from you that they don't get from you. You need to have a procedure for identifying repeating leaks. It's leaking again, even if the customer doesn't have one. You should know more about what's going on that roof than he does. Have a procedure, a process, a standard operating procedure for what you will do differently, and then tell them. Tell your customer what's going to be different the second time you go out to the roof to look for the same problem. That's what they want. Tell them when you're going to be there. Set an appointment. If you must call them back, do it before they start calling again. When you call to get your truck service, say, hey, I want to bring my truck in to have my tires rotated, do they say to you, oh, we really don't know when we can get you in, we'll have to get back to you? They schedule an appointment. You should be able to do that too. Now, I understand that the typical auto dealer doesn't have 4 inches of rain after 2 months of no rain and get 400 phone calls like some of you guys do. Have you ever walked into a grocery store on a Monday morning at 7 a.m. and look at all those checkout lines? How many of them are open? 1. Ever in there on a Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock? They're all open, aren't they? If you know you got 4 inches of rain coming, you need to get prepared for that. I know of a roofing contractor that when they go from 1 service manager to 2, they reallocate resources in the company. I even got a phone call one day from an owner in a company that is a $100 million company. He's calling me on the phone about a roof leak. And I said, what you calling me for? He said, man, we got all these phone calls. It's all hands on deck. Because they're serious about customer service. Have proper documentation of your repairs. Whole session on this tomorrow, and I'd like to re-emphasize the point that as a consultant, I review all the invoices that you guys send my building owner clients, and all of the stuff you saw on those complaints, Most of them get taken care of if you do this right. Handle on-site communication properly. Properly train your field techs. Now, obviously, you should never tell somebody they need a new roof. And I recognize that not all of you necessarily work on shopping centers. So what do you do with your guys? They go out to a shopping center, they're not allowed to talk to anybody, but now they're going to, the next stop is Joe's bowling alley, and Joe's going to be the guy out that comes out and show them where the leak is. Do you really want them not to say anything to Joe? How are you going to handle that? What I suggest you do simply is tell them what you're going to do by sending them a one-page fax. We put 2 men in a truck for safety. The billing rate is blah, blah, blah. So if you have questions about these things, if it's happened to you 3 times, it's going to happen to you forever, handle it up front. So what you do is you put in your fax that when our repair techs go out, they have been instructed not to talk about what they have found on the roof with the occupant of the building. If you don't want that done, let us know. Tell them what you're going to do. We're not going to talk to whoever is there. Or if you're going to do it differently, fine, but tell them. Ask them what they want. If they call you on the phone, they say, okay, what is it you want? Okay? And then what you need to do is record it in the property record. So that the next time you go out there, somebody knows, oh, this is going to be different here, and the field techs are equipped for that. Identify other roof issues. Really? When you take your truck in, you have the tires rotated. Have you ever not had somebody call you on the phone saying, we've rotated your tires and your wear patterns are showing that you might want to replace these soon? Is there anybody here that's never had that call? How about, the pads on your brakes are getting a little thin? It might be time to replace them. If in fact, excuse me, if in fact, all of a sudden your brakes are grinding and you didn't know that this was going to happen, are you happy with your guy? Of course not. So what makes you think roofers are any different? The note on here says, they walk up on the roof and they walk right past a problem, and then 3 weeks later we're out there fixing it. Why? Now these are knowledgeable property managers. I understand a lot of you work with people that aren't knowledgeable. When you get really good at customer service and service, you can get more knowledgeable people that can appreciate what you can provide. So how do you successfully implement these sorts of things in your organization? Principle number 2, I suggest you have those that deal with customer service issues actually be skilled at customer service. Do you have your accountant help with the tear off in your short day? If you've got a guy that's down a day, do you send your accountant out there? Do you send Jane out there, Steve? Yeah. Or when the accountant's sick for the day, do you take a guy off the tear off crew and put him in there and say, here, do the accountant's job? If you hired somebody originally for their roofing knowledge, they may not be the best choice to design, implement, and manage customer service procedures, or act as a customer service representative. So how do you identify these people? Don't guess. Use computer-generated assessments, behavior assessments. Now, there's a lot of different ones on the market. This is the one that I'm familiar with, so this is what I'm showing you. This is called DISC. How many of you are familiar with DISC? Good. Good. Glad to see that. All right. This happens to be me. And I'm not going to try to interpret this for you, but what I will tell you is that this is not what you want for customer service. And these guys know me and they know that. But because I'm an implementer. This is exactly the same information presented differently. I'm an implementer. You want to get something done? You want me. So, what does somebody good at customer service look like? Well, I found this interesting. I said, I'll get one draft for this. And I started going through all my reports. I have hundreds of these, almost all of which are on the employees of roofing contractor service departments. And you know what? I had trouble finding one. This is pretty good. a supporter. This person is naturally a flexible supporter. Most of your service department people are going to be populated over here. Now, occasionally when somebody wants to hire me, they'll walk up to me, they're training their service department, they test me. And they walk up to me and they say, if we wanted to hire a salesperson, should we hire a roofer and that's really good and teach him how to sell? Or should we hire a salesperson and teach them about roofing? Now, this is easy. You hire a salesperson and you teach them what they need to know about roofing. In exactly the same way, if you want to populate your service department with people that are good at customer service, don't look for people that know roofing. Find people that know customer service and teach them roofing. Another principle, rule of thumb. If they are calling you on the phone and asking you for information that you already know they need, you failed. That phone call will almost never come to you within 24 hours of the time that the thing got initiated. We established at the very beginning that if you've got information that they want, you should be able to find something, come hell or high water, within 24 hours, get it in their hands. If you don't do that and they call you and they said, when are you going to come service my leak? I called you 2 days ago, I haven't heard back from you yet. You fail. And what I see happening in the roofing industry is that you have no idea how big a deal this is. This is like getting water in a building on a re-roof and having a night seal failure. Now, when you have a night seal failure, there's massive chaos and there can be a big hit on a relationship. But when you have people calling you on the phone say, where is it? Have you been there yet? It is just as damaging to you long term. 24-hour rule. Invoices for repairs in their hands within 24 hours of the time you guys walk off the roof. The instant you walk off the roof, you have at that moment all the information that you're ever going to have. You're going to have all your pictures taken, you're going to have all the caulking tubes counted, you're going to have all that done. Knowledgeable building owner wants it now, within 24 hours. And again, I'm going to beat this to death tomorrow. But what I want you to hear is if you are not getting your invoices in their hands within 24 hours, which means by email, not in the mail, but by email, I say this politely, respectfully, but you're killing yourselves. Sundown rule. I learned this from a contractor that I trained. Every employee in their company is supposed to reply to all emails and voice messages before the end of the day or they came home. I think that's good. He's not in here today. His name's Brad Belden. Survey time 3. So I've got all those responses together that you saw from my about knowledgeable building owners, and I say, okay, I'm going to take these and I'm going to send them out to 1,000 building owners and get responses. And we did that. And you know what happened? Nothing. We got a statistically insignificant number of responses. The other thing that I discovered is that we also made available to all of you that registered early a questionnaire that you could go online and fill out and tell us your 3 biggest problems, and 4 of you responded. Now, and I hope you're here, and we're going to want to address those things for you, but I'm not going to go through them right now. We'll handle them question and answers. And that's now. So, I've done a lot of presentations, not only at the IRE, but other trade shows, and what I discovered with question and answer time, people sit there like this. They're afraid to look stupid. Last year I was in a training and I had a guy sitting over here and his direct competitor was sitting over here, and neither one of them would talk. Because neither one of them wanted to reveal that they didn't know something. Let me tell you something, guys. There are no bad questions, and there's virtually nobody in this room that can't learn from anybody's questions. I want to encourage you to ask them. We have plenty of time. I'm right on time.